All right, hello everyone, and welcome to Emerging Technology for Mentoring Programs, part of our Connecticut Mentoring Summit. Thanks so much for joining us today. It's great to see everybody. Over about the next 90 minutes, we're going to explore some of the excellent ways for mentors and mentees to connect virtually. First, let's start with a little housekeeping. If you've got questions, just pop them into the chat box, and our presenters will be answering them at the end of each session during the designated Q&A period. We'll be recording this webinar for future distribution, and the slides and video will be posted to our Summit website. I am Andrew Cufton, just in case you need a bigger picture of me, Director of Communications for the partnership. I'll be your moderator for today. I promise you'll be hearing very little from me after this initial spiel, so please hang in there for just a minute or two longer. We're going to start out this afternoon with a presentation from MentorHub. They've created an app that allows mentoring programs to give mentors and mentees sort of a one-stop shop for connecting. It's got a ton of great features and was co-founded by one of our great plenary speakers, Dr. Gene Rhodes, who you'll be hearing from tomorrow. Today, we're going to be joined by Harrison Highgood, Director of Business Development and Outreach, and Jeremy Astasano, Director of Product Development. We'll be hearing from them in just a few moments. In part two of today's webinar, we're going to be talking about some other fun and engaging ways that mentors and mentees can connect from a distance. That's everything from virtual platforms, games, learning apps, and we're also going to be focusing on safety so that all of you mentoring program coordinators can feel confident in what safeguards these apps and programs have in place before thinking about adding them to your program's repertoire. Part two's featured speakers will be the Partnership Zone Nathan Lannon, Technical Communications Specialist, and Josh Carbajal, Teacher Advisor for Gear Up CT. And that's more than enough for me. Let's get to part one, streamlining virtual mentoring. Jeremy and Harrison of MentorHub, please take it away.
Thanks so much, Andrew. And it's great to be here. It's great to be able to talk to you all about MentorHub today. Just give a very quick overview of who we are and how we came to this project, and then get right into what MentorHub is and how we hope it can help lots of people. So as Andrew mentioned, I'm the head of product. I started working with Dr. Rhodes in kind of a research context, and then gradually grew into more of a product and project management role for MentorHub. And I'll tell you a little bit more about it. I'll let Harrison introduce himself and talk a little bit more about his background. And then I'll give you an overview. We'll take you through a video, show you some of the specific features that are involved, and some of the new features that we've added, and then answer some questions. So with that, Harrison, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeremy. And it's nice to meet you all. My name's Harrison Highgood. I'm the Director of Partnerships and Outreach for MentorHub. I'm really excited to be working with Jeremy and Dr. Gene Rhodes on this project. I'm coming from a background in enterprise software and technology, as well as political organizing. And MentorHub and our work is really, I've found, is really a great marriage between the two. And I'm excited to show you all what we've been working on. So I'll turn it over to Jeremy.
Great. Thanks, Harrison. So for those of you that aren't familiar, Dr. Gene Rhodes is at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. She's a professor of psychology there and an expert in the field of mentoring. As Andrew mentioned, she'll be speaking tomorrow. But this MentorHub app really comes out of her decades-long research on the field and some areas that she noticed where there could be a little bit of improvement or change. And so what MentorHub is, it's kind of a response to stagnation in terms of some effect sizes that have been present in especially large national mentoring programs over the past couple decades, especially in the areas of kind of mental health and educational outcomes. So mentoring programs do so many things so well. They create amazing supportive relationships, but often mentoring programs don't have the tools to provide kind of specific targeted interventions that can actually address some of the presenting challenges that young people are experiencing. So MentorHub has a goal of kind of democratizing access to mental health interventions, some of which you may have heard of. We'll talk a little bit more about those later, and increasing the adherence and therefore the efficacy to those mental health interventions. We've also built in a suite of tools to kind of complement the nudging and coaching that's involved in something that's referred to as supportive accountability. That's kind of the theoretical framework that MentorHub is built on. And concretely, that is just kind of the process of making sure that somebody knows how to use an intervention, make sure that they're actively and recurringly using it, and can ongoingly troubleshoot anything that comes up and kind of encourage them to use an app. That could be something like Headspace. Another one of our partner apps is called Superbetter. We're also working with Khan Academy and a couple others that you might be aware of. So generally, MentorHub is a tool to encourage the use of those interventions. So with that, I'm going to share my screen here. I'm gonna, hopefully everyone will, let me make sure I'm choosing the right desktop here. I'm gonna share with sound. So what we're gonna do is play just a short video. Someone let me know if you can't hear this audio. I'll be able to kind of pause it and reset it, but this will give you a better sense of the visual appearance of MentorHub and how the interface actually works. So with that, I'm gonna mute myself and play this video. Welcome to MentorHub, a supportive accountability app. MentorHub was created based on the idea that we can widely deliver targeted, evidence-based interventions that work through technology, and that they're most effective with a little support. We're aiming to achieve this by partnering with best-in-class third-party apps that provide interventions in mental health, education, and more. Using the existing framework of a supportive mentoring relationship, MentorHub can help facilitate positive change for young people everywhere. We're going to start by taking you through the mentee experience. Start by logging in with your phone number. We'll send you a one-time password to log in, so you'll never have to remember one. Once you're logged in, you'll be prompted to take your baseline assessment, customized by your organization. Organizations can decide how frequently this assessment occurs, ranging from weekly all the way up to every 6 months. Next, you'll take the mood ring. The mood ring was designed to capture a weekly snapshot of how you're feeling about several challenges in your life. You can slide from left to right in each category to indicate how much that challenge is bothering you this week. You can earn points in MentorHub by completing your mood ring and using partner apps. After completing the mood ring, our built-in algorithm will suggest an app to you based on your responses. For example, Superbetter can help you build resilience and stay positive through difficult situations. Your dashboard gives you a quick overview of your relationship with your mentor. See the breakdown of your mood ring and points here. You can choose to sort these visualizations by monthly, weekly, or latest. The mood ring tab provides an in-depth view of each category we ask about over time, so you and your mentor can view how these change. Messaging is built into MentorHub. You can catch up, talk about any goals or challenges you have, and more. If you ever feel uncomfortable in a conversation, we've built in the option to flag it, pausing your chat. You can always unflag it after if this was a mistake. Finally, the More tab features information about the app, resources, and your mentee profile. Here you can see badges you've earned and badges still to earn. The Mentor app is a lot like the Mentee app. It's designed to give you insight and transparency into your mentee's activity, giving you the tools to provide supportive accountability. Log in the same way you would for the Mentee app, and you'll see your dashboard right away. View message engagement statistics and an overview of your mentee or mentees. You'll be able to quickly see their last activity date from here. If you have multiple mentees, the Mentee tab will give you an overview of all their top challenges. You can also receive your one-time password via email. Click on a mentee to see their profile. You can see their mood ring responses, app usage, and badge progress in this tab. Use MentorHub's chat to communicate with mentees and program staff. You can also use the chat to remind your mentee to track their mood ring progress. If they haven't completed it in more than 7 days, MentorHub will prompt you to send them a quick nudge so they stay on track. Thank you so much for your interest in MentorHub, and we hope that we can work with you soon. All right, so hopefully that gives you a better sense of what MentorHub actually looks like and what's kind of involved in actually using the platform. In a second, I'm going to open up a presentation and show you some of our new features, but just to restate a little bit about kind of what some of the existing functionality does and how that connects to this goal of increasing adherence to these mental health interventions. I will just touch on, for example, the mood ring a little bit. So the mood ring is intended to give you kind of this ideographic data that you're able to see for a mentee on a recurring basis. And so what we're actually assessing is on a number of dimensions, a subjective measure of how much a challenge is bothering you. And that can provide you both kind of a jumping off point for conversations with a young person. And it also is built into the recommendation system that we have in MentorHub. And the recommendation system is a mechanism that will take that assessment and then provide kind of a best guess for what app would actually correspond to those challenges. So if a mentee indicates that they are, for example, experiencing sadness or worries, we might recommend Headspace and say, okay, meditation is something that will, positively influence whatever's going on and will probably contribute to kind of holistic health. Similarly, if achievement is the issue, we instead recommend Khan Academy or something similar like that. The messaging functionality that's built in is also really intended to support that supportive accountability framework. And specifically, it will allow mentors to kind of check in to have that information. And then also it provides programs and administrators with information about how many messages have been sent. So that's actually, I'll show you in a bit, a little bit about the back end as well and what a program administrator would see. But it gives you a real sense of kind of the aggregate picture of what your communications are like and whether you're communicating at a rate that is that you are happy about. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about some of the new features that we've added in MentorHub recently. The video was created before we've added some of these new features. So I'll open up my screen share again here. And I'm just going to talk through a couple different things that we've added that we're really excited about. One of them is the resources page within MentorHub. So within the video, you saw sort of a more limited number of tabs, but we've recently added a resources tab, which will actually let you link out to other content that you want to share with people in your program, that you want to kind of bring mentors and mentees to. You can actually choose whether it shows up in the mobile app for mentors, mentees, or both. And so this is a great way to link out to mental health resources, to link out to programming that's going on, and will kind of generally give you a way to aggregate information for mentors and mentees. I'll show you what that actually would look like in app. This is, oh, did I mute myself? Oh, I did not. So this is actually what we refer to as an iframe. And this means that you don't actually have to leave the app if you want to load one of these resources. So you're actually able to see the content right within the app. You don't actually have to exit out. And this will let you kind of show whatever content you'd like to demonstrate. The next thing that I'll go to is the video calling function that we've added. So video calling is something that we heard, from programs that this is something that would be really useful. We kind of allow them to potentially use this service instead of, for example, a Zoom. So we included the ability to actually have a video call between mentors and mentees, between program staff and mentors and mentees, et cetera. So this looks very much like FaceTime. It's going to operate in that same way. You're able to kind of turn off your own video. You're able to, you're able to turn off sound. So, all of that basic functionality is included. And then in addition, you can actually schedule it out. So you can set it up on a calendar within the MentorHub mobile app. This doesn't link out to another service. It's all built right into the mobile app itself. And you can choose a date and time, and the mentee will actually be notified about that call occurring. One of the final features that I'll touch on here is the ability to go on the mentee app from a web dashboard. And so this is something that we built in response to an understanding that we can actually increase access to the MentorHub app by having a web dashboard. So while we know that lots of young people do have access to a smartphone, we know that it's not entirely ubiquitous. And so having a mobile edition of the app that will actually let you access it, for example, from a Chromebook or something like that, we thought would be really beneficial. So that is something that we've recently added and are excited about. What you're seeing right now is actually the mood ring in the dashboard format. So this is, so you can slide each of these sliders. It works the same way as you saw in the mobile interface. And then you can also see all of the resources that I'd mentioned before. You can see your total points as a mentee. You can see the combinations of your mood rings. You can see your badges. That's something that the video mentions briefly, but the badge progress is a mechanism that we hope will kind of incentivize people to actually be in the MentorHub app, to use it more. And it essentially operates on a sort of scalable system where badges are increasingly hard to earn, which will hopefully continue to make it exciting to earn a badge. So you don't earn a badge, every single time you do something, but if you accumulate enough points, you will earn a badge. I'll highlight that we also made messaging available sort of at all times. So anything you do in this dashboard will also keep your message pane open. And ideally, that will let you kind of navigate any resources with a mentor in real time. You can kind of like be having a conversation while you're observing a resource, while you're talking about the mood ring, or whatever the case may be. So that's something that we're also excited about, and we think that will make a really sort of consolidated experience for mentors. So I'm just going to pause my share for one moment, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the administrative backend. And what the administrative backend will actually do is give you the option to, and let's see if I resume my share here. Can everyone see can I get a nod if this is now on the dashboard? Okay, great. The dashboard is going to be a tool for program staff, for match support specialists, if you're familiar sort of with that terminology. And you're going to see a few different things here on the dashboard. So this is a test program that we have set up, but this is from the program administrator side, what gives you the ability to see the combination of mood ring information. So you saw on that in the video that a mentee will slide and sort of essentially indicate on a daily or weekly basis how much of a challenge something is. This view here is actually then going to tell a program administrator for all of the mentees in my program to what degree are these things an issue. And so what we hope this will let you do is kind of direct programming, understand how these things change over time, and you can actually kind of mouse over them to see the different percentages that are of how severe these challenges are for people in your program. You can turn them off if you're interested in just seeing kind of a few without some of the other dimensions. And then you can also see how many times an app has been downloaded within a program. You can also choose from program to program. So say you're a larger organization, you have multiple programs that you'd like to have in the MentorHub system. You can actually choose from program to program which apps you'd like to include. So that's why you're seeing a couple of zeros here. These have been turned off for this test program. But you can actually tailor the offering to a specific program and to whatever the needs may be. This percentage is the number of mentees that have installed the app within a given program. And then if we scroll down a little farther, we can actually see messaging statistics. So this is what I was mentioning before, where when mentees and mentors send messages back and forth to one another, you'll actually be able to track in aggregate kind of the number that have been sent by each party. So you can also turn this on and off, similar kind of UI feature, and get a sense of like, what is the trend in the messaging in my program? Are people sending more messages, fewer messages, et cetera? And then similarly, we have this information included for video calling. So this is a dashboard where you're actually going to be able to see the number of meetings that occur. You're able to see who is having the meetings and for how long each of those dynamics have been having meetings. Again, you can kind of mouse over to see how many meetings happened on a given day. And so again, the goal being to provide programs with as much kind of information about their constituents as possible. So I'll do a couple other things, one of which is to click into a mentor profile here and to show you kind of what information you can get when you actually look at an individual role. This is my test mentor profile here, and we're going to see a lot of the same information. So some of this stuff is going to look kind of familiar, but now it's being segmented by me as a mentor as opposed to for the whole program. So if we click into or mouse over one of these points, again, we're going to see messages that have been sent by either me or my mentees. We're going to see the combined view of the mentee mood rings for me as a mentor, in addition to the app installs for me as a mentor. And then if we click into a mentee profile here, we can see the change in mood ring from this program administrator dashboard. We can see the apps that have been installed by this mentee, in addition to their mood ring on either a weekly or monthly basis. So if you toggle that option, you'll actually see how those percentages change. Finally, I'll highlight a couple more sections here. One being the resources tab, which I mentioned kind of in the context of the mobile app. But this is going to be a really easy way for program administrators to aggregate information, to kind of collect it. It's just a series of text fields that you put in to add a resource, and then it will display within the mobile app. And then finally, the meetings tab is actually where you schedule a meeting. So you saw a little kind of diagram of this before, but all you would have to do, it's a pretty simple process, is you choose the date and time, you choose the organization, the program that you'd like to schedule within, and then you choose the role type and the attendee and hit schedule, and that will actually send them a push notification. So I'm going to pause there. I know that that's sort of a lot of condensed information all at once, but I would love to kind of pause now and answer any questions that you have about the mobile interface or the dashboard, about how the program works in general, or sort of what one might do to get involved with MentorHub.
Harrison and Jeremy, I've got a question for you. And Harrison, first of all, at the beginning of the presentation, I mispronounced your last name, and I apologize for that. My question would be, you guys right now are in beta, is that right? And what does the rollout schedule for this app look like?
Sure. So there are a few different components of that, and I'll let Harrison kind of jump in on some of the more specific logistical pieces. But that's correct. We're in beta, and we are doing kind of a couple parallel channels, which I'll let Harrison talk a little bit more about. We're doing some more formal research, and then we're doing some usability and feasibility testing sites. And so the goals are kind of different in each of those parallel channels. The usability and feasibility testing, obviously, being to see how usable this is. And then the research sites being to kind of connect some more traditional psychological questionnaires to what's going on in the MentorHub app to see if those actually shift outcomes to the degree that we think they will. Harrison, do you want to add anything about kind of like the partners that we're working with and maybe the timelines that we're operating with?
Definitely. So right now, MentorHub is being used by close to 20 sites and partners around the country. We launched the app late this summer, live in the App Store and in Google Play, as well as Jeremy showed, it's compatible on your browser. So over these past over 6 months now, we've been really focused on partnering with large and small organizations in a lot of different locations to really understand and collaborate on what is working well and what needs to be improved about MentorHub. Currently, we're very focused on finding communities that are willing to really provide us with a high level of feedback and also are willing to work with us at a level of a smaller group or subset within their community. So ideally, we're working with 10 matches or 20 users total per site. Obviously, we have exceptions, but we're really trying to keep our groups small because you're looking at the key support team between Jeremy and I. And what we're doing is really trying to provide that hands-on support to everyone we're working with. As Jeremy mentioned, we have research partners that are working in collaboration with Dr. Jean Rhodes's lab and her research consortium. In addition, we have local partners who have just onboarded and aren't necessarily looking for, complex IRB approval and things like that, but just want to try it out, where we provide focus groups and trainings for them to enable support. So hopefully that provides everyone with a high level understanding of what we've been up to, but would be very happy either in the chat or over video to answer any more questions.
I see one question in the chat, which I'd like to address. And then if anyone has more questions, you can unmute yourself and let us know, or put it in the chat either way. So the question is, interested in how accessible the chat component would be for LGBTQ+ youth and mentors. Would any of the identity language that they use be blocked? Which is a great question. And so currently, no, there would be no blocking of any language. The flagging component that we do have built into the app is exclusively for mentees. So it's really a safety feature that we've included so that mentees can indicate to their program staff if there's anything concerning going on in the conversation. But there is no blocking of any kind of messaging that would go on. And so that wouldn't be a concern. But I think that's something that we want to be really mindful of as we are considering blocking certain types of messages, obviously profane language, anything like that. But we would certainly be very mindful of how that would impact certain identity language. So thank you for asking that question. And I see that Harrison actually answered that, but hopefully that gives you a little bit more of a sense. A couple other questions. Are you working with any mentor affiliates to bring MentorHub into a state or on a wider scale? So we are working with a number of different organizations, some of which do have a mentor affiliation. In terms of those specific partners, I would have to get back to you on that. I know, for example, we are working with a couple different sites that are affiliated with Mentor North Carolina. Our new CEO is actually a former employee of Mentor North Carolina. So we do have a connection there, and we are working with different partners across the country. So we're really trying to expand as much as possible.
Well, that was awesome. I think I speak for everybody when I say that. Thanks so much to Jeremy and Harrison. And if anybody else has any other questions, just drop them in the chat and we will work to make sure we get the answers to those questions. In the meantime, thanks again so much to you guys. We're going to move on to part 2 of our Fun from a Distance, Games, Learning, and Safety. Keeping mentees engaged virtually with games and learning, and of course in a safe environment. And so without further ado, let's get to Nathan and Josh. Take it away, guys.
So first, I just want to take a second to say, wow, MentorHub, like, it's very exciting. Just thinking about like the number of connections that this has the possibility to facilitate, the data alone that you guys will be collecting will really just have the opportunity to transform the field. So hats off, kudos to both of you and all the work that your team is doing. So to introduce myself, I am Nathan Lannon. I am the Technical Communications Specialist for the Governor's Prevention Partnership. I am also an informal familial mentor to my little brother, who you'll be learning a little bit more about shortly. And I have a background in digital communications, design, and mental health counseling. I'm joined today by Josh Carbajal, and I was hoping that he would introduce himself briefly for you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Nathan. And thank you again to Harrison and Jeremy for that amazing presentation. I know I'm super excited for using that in any application I can from here moving forward. So thank you for that. And thank you to everybody here for coming. And I hope you're enjoying the summit overall. My name is Josh Carbajal. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I am a teacher advisor with Waterbury Gear Up at Naugatuck Valley Community College in Waterbury. I have a background in community psychology, and I'm a pretty heavy LGBT advocate on college campuses. So I'm incredibly passionate about the success of youth and youth mentorship overall.
Awesome. So Andrew, would you kick us over to the next slide, please? Pictured here, kind of as a point of introduction, is myself and my informal mentee, Evan. This was a pre-COVID picture, as you can probably imagine. We aren't wearing masks and we're out in a relatively public place. Evan is a bright and passionate young man. He loves history, he loves video games, he has a lot of brilliant qualities that I could go on and on about. But like a lot of kids, he also has some troubles. Specifically, like he's always kind of struggled with perspective taking and putting himself in somebody else's shoes and sort of imagining what's going on for them. For example, we might be having a conversation at the dinner table among, adults, and he would interrupt with a tangent on Minecraft or some Russian oligarch from, 400 years ago. and always interesting, but not on topic and a little disruptive. When Evan was 10, we lost our mother. And as a young boy who's already struggling to connect with people, this loss exacerbated what was already a struggle for him. So he became quieter, more withdrawn, more kind of in his own little internal world. And he started acting out in school a lot. He had a number of incidences. One actually put him on a juvenile review board facing a possible expulsion, which luckily didn't happen, but this was sort of his starting place. After our mother passed, I made a commitment, not in like a formal mentoring sense, but just kind of informally, like, I'm gonna be here for this boy. I'm gonna make sure that he always has somebody to lean on, somebody that can help him grow and find his voice. And to that end, we have connected every Friday night, with the exception of, a few holidays here and there where I'm off doing other things, but we connect pretty much every Friday. And when the pandemic hit, like many people, our meetings went virtual. So I remember, the early days where we were like everyone else, figuring out how to mute and unmute and how screen sharing works and fumbling and accidentally Xing out of things. But we grew together. We learned how to play games with each other over it. And last Friday night really stuck out to me. It was a typical Friday night where my family gathered around the Zoom screens for our collective Friday family fun. We all ordered pizza and we were, blotting our hands off on napkins to avoid getting like grease on the keyboards. We played Fibbage, which is a game you'll learn a little bit more about later on. And I was just struck by the humor Evan had cultivated. He really seemed to have a nuanced understanding of what would be engaging for the people and what would make them laugh. A little later on, we talked about how he wants to be an industrial engineer. So I brought up a open course learning platform on ScreenShare. I showed him some of the courses he could start cutting his teeth in right now in order to learn a little bit more about engineering. We, hurt because of COVID. We missed being with each other, but the virtual platform offered a really unique opportunity to grow and connect in a different way than we had. And the social nuance he has now, the way that he speaks, at this Friday, we were talking about spirituality, politics. We were talking about, our mother's passing, and he did all these things while considering other people's emotions, while being funny, while perspective taking. And I honestly attribute a lot of that to the games that we played together while socially distanced. He's come so far. He was on honor roll last semester. He was nominated as student of the year. So this platform has tremendous value. And I am so excited today to share with you some of the tools that we use to connect that I hope may help other mentors connect with their mentees. So towards the end, I have a formula I would like to share with you all. This is a formula for fun that I've used time and time again through COVID-19 to connect with others. You have a phone or a video call, such as we're doing now, and a shared digital experience. Combine those two, multitasking a little bit, and it really makes for a great time. Excellent. So in terms of facilitating this connection, there's kind of three ways to do it. Number one would probably be a face call, over various platforms that we'll highlight shortly. A voice call works just as well. You can connect over voice. And if you're really in a pinch where neither of you have access to, voice or video, really rapid fire back and forth email correspondence or some sort of text messaging may be the connection facilitator that you need. I highlight here Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Skype, FaceTime, and Google Hangouts. These are the standard video chats. My family prefers Zoom. It's just what we've kind of grown on. but really anything that allows you to screen share, you're in business. Hopefully someday we will see MentorHub up on this list as well. So once you have a platform to connect on, to share screens on, there are a variety of different fun platforms that you can use to have a shared digital experience. We'll be going over a number of those today, but they fall in the categories of gaming, shared creative opportunities, or even, we don't highlight them as much in this presentation, but there's the possibility of shared watching experiences, having a video party. I'm going to note here, just before I forget, we will be dropping a whole bunch of resources that we vetted and found interesting and helpful, but we're not going to hit all of them. And there is a high likelihood that you have platforms and stuff that your mentors and mentees that perhaps you're using to connect with mentees right now that are helpful. And if you could drop those in the chat, fantastic. We are going to curate all of the resources that we talk about here today into a document that you can reuse, share, whatever you would like with. And we'll take a look at some of the other resources that are shared as well. All right, go ahead. So I mentioned briefly when I was working with Evan, and he said he wanted to be an industrial engineer. I was like, great, we live in a time where there is no excuse for not being able to learn whatever you want to learn. If you have access to the internet, which given, varies from person to person, but if you do, the world is open to you. That link there for Open Culture, it's a curated list of hundreds of college classes, some lower classes as well, across every subject imaginable, published for free for learning. If you have a mentee who's looking to kind of cut their teeth on a specific subject and try out a career opportunity without going full-fledged into it, it's a really great place to start. We're going to be highlighting a couple of the other ones here. Khan Academy was mentioned by MentorHub. Scratch, I'll give a little demonstration of. And also YouTube is a great place to find shared educational moments. Feature here are Kirkgazad, Crash Course, SciShow. And again, I will have these all linked up in a document later on for your exploring. All right, next slide. So at this point, I'd like to pass it over to Josh to give an overview of web safety for everyone.
Thank you so much, Nathan. That story about your brother is incredibly touching, and I wasn't expecting that, and that was very wholesome. Yes, so right now I'm going to take a moment to talk about web safety, as I know that we are coming from all walks of life in different parts of the education system. So we're all going to be working with mentees and mentors as well of different ages. And so we wanted to make sure that we covered a couple of housekeeping things here regarding web safety. You always want to make sure that your mentors and mentees are aware of their family internet rules, and that can be, no going on this website, no going on, not watching something beyond a certain time in the day, whatever those rules may be. Make sure that they are aware of what their parents or guardians allow, and then making sure that you don't violate those rules, because that can cause an issue. The second is never to reveal personal information. I know this is something that I personally have been had ingrained in me since I was in middle school myself, when the internet was really becoming a fun thing for me. And so, we say never reveal your first and last name, your address, making sure that any usernames that you use, at least at first, perhaps, are not your real name, never reveal passwords, just to make sure that you maintain your safety and your mentees and mentors' safety. As well as, never responding to threatening messages. Jeremy and his colleague from MentorHub mentioned that they have that flagging system in MentorHub. Something like that is normally used in pretty much any online platform that you're going to come across. So you can block, you can make sure that you can report messages in most platforms, and just making sure that your students know how to recognize those things so they can keep themselves and others safe Next slide, please. So kind of building off of that, if you encounter a mentor or a mentee coming forward and saying, I saw this happening on a platform and I don't feel great about it, how do you address that? Make sure that you tell them who they can go to for those problems. So telling a parent or another trusted adult about any online interaction that is either a little bit sketchy or it hurt the student in some way, making sure that they feel safe in these environments and to facilitate that safe environment for them. And kind of building off of the personal safety, encourage whoever you may be working with not to post or trade personal photos, especially if it's being asked for unprompted in a very uncomfortable way. Just let's try to avoid it altogether for their safety. Next slide, please. Awesome. So I already mentioned the sharing passwords thing there, but if you do have a trusted adult or your mentee or mentor has a trusted adult that they can go to keep this information safe on their behalf, recognize that that is probably going to be a best option for them also because they might want to monitor what their student is doing, to see what's going on behind the scenes there on whatever platform they may be engaging on. Of all people to share that information with, I would say a parent or guardian is the safest bet, but anybody else, encourage them to never do that just for their safety. And then also never agreeing to meet with somebody online or that you met online without some sort of prior approval or supervision. A lot of our students that we're working with haven't had a face-to-face interaction with their mentor and mentees yet. So that is something that, is going to probably be happening sometime soon, but at the moment, kids want to trust anybody or students want to trust pretty much anybody. They have the benefit of the doubt ingrained in them. And so we have to make sure that they keep themselves safe by not going online and meeting random strangers in person or arranging to meet strangers in person. And then one last safe mentoring rule. Nathan mentioned a lot of great platforms, a couple of slides beforehand, and then we're going to be talking about some more later on. Whenever you are, introduced to a new platform, we would recommend never automatically just sending it to your students right away because this is a great resource or, you don't really know exactly what's going on with that resource. So we say vet these sorts of programs beforehand to make sure you know exactly what is being displayed, what the rules of the platform are, you understand what's being exchanged or what communication is being used, just to make sure that you are not setting them into an environment that you are not completely aware of because, there could be some safety features that we assume are going to be ingrained into these programs that aren't necessarily always there. So you want to make sure that you know exactly what you are providing to your mentors and mentees to use just to keep themselves safe and comfortable. Thank you. I almost didn't see that the slide changed. So one more thing that we want to highlight here is that, these are things that we have vetted. We know that they are pretty safe and we have some caveats that we'd like to share with you all in this presentation. But, we did our best for preparing for this today. But if you have anything in mind, like we said, share them in the chat. But I'm going to let Nathan take that last slide here, or last bullet.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, just to kind of, there is, when it comes to these experiences, I like to think I'm kind of hip with the young people. I still have a pulse on things, but at the end of the day, nobody knows better what's going to be interesting and compelling for a mentee than a mentee themselves. When in doubt, ask the young people, but then go ahead on your own and kind of vet it just to make sure that it is safe, PG, and will be a good experience for both of you. And towards, for the next slide, regarding web safety, recently came across this really fun resource. It is called Hinterland. It's made by the folks at Google, and it is a 3D game that kind of works. You navigate around with your keypad, and you play a polygonal character that is learning about how to be safe on the internet in like a fun sort of Mario-esque type of way. There's 4 different levels. One about internet kindness and how to deal with the bullies. Another on fake news and how to filter it out, how to be aware of it. There's one on sharing content with care, and a final level on keeping your private information private. So the link is here. We will follow up on the resource, but this can be a really great way, especially over screen share with a mentee, to kind of go through the different aspects of being safe on the internet before you guys go deeper into having more shared digital experiences with each other. Now, not all content, not all digital experiences are appropriate for all age levels or all developmental levels. So in curating this collection of shared digital experiences for you, I framed it through Piaget's cognitive development stages, which Piaget was a psychologist who broke down, different stages of the lifespan and kind of what you'd expect cognitively at that point. So we'll dive into the first stage here, which is pre-occupational. So a mentee at the pre-occupational stage, which is 2 to 7, you'd expect them to be kind of egocentric. They might, a little bit like I was talking about with Evan, but on a more intense scale, struggle to have take the perspective of another person. For example, a child at this age may draw a picture and hold up the picture to say, look at this brilliant picture I drew. But they're holding the picture to themselves. Like you're seeing the back of the paper. And it just kind of takes they fail to understand that there is somebody else viewing. They think that if they can see it, you can see it too. So kind of an extension of that, you don't want at this age group to kind of introduce games or experiences that require too much perspective taking per se. Another thing at this stage, logic is a bit difficult. And at this stage, play is growth and growth is play, especially when you can make those play experiences really sensorily rich, which raises a question. How do you create a rich sensory experience virtually through a distance? Luckily, the folks at PBS have stepped up and created really just that, a collection of rich sensory experiences that are great for connecting with these younger mentees. I'd like to highlight PBS Kids Games specifically. So at PBS Kids Games, I had a little bit more fun than an adult man should perusing these. But they're every interest a mentee could possibly have, it's there in some sort of game format for the mentee to dive deeper. Does your mentee like arts? They have that. What about animals? That's there too. Do you think they could develop a little bit, have some emotional growth? Well, there's games for that as well. And all of these games are chimey. They're very, they're noisy. They really stimulate the senses, which is exactly the type of play that you're looking for at this age. Some of the games, as kind of shown in this picture, are 1 or 2 player. So this can be great if you select a 2-player game and on your screen share, you mouse for both of you. It's like, oh, which hamster should we click on? And, kind of have an engaging experience in that way. The next stage is concrete operational, and this is for ages 7 to 11. At this age, you get a little bit more logical thinking. Abstract concepts are becoming a little bit more graspable, and there is a better understanding of what other people are thinking and feeling. If you were in person, this may be the time that you'd want to introduce playing board games. Games like checkers and chess that are logic-based, they have rules. They're accessible to this age group and can be a great way to spend time with your mentee. Now, it's harder to play checkers virtually. There are platforms for this, and Steam has a board game simulator, which comes at a cost, but it is available if you're willing to make that investment into it. But specifically, I'd like to highlight more of the educational opportunities that are really directed towards this age group. So there's Khan Academy, Nat Geo, which is kind of like everything related to society, history, the natural world. You can find really interesting videos and games around those. And then there's also Scratch, MIT.edu Scratch, which is for our up and coming STEM kids. And that'll be a fun thing to highlight in just a moment. So Scratch was created by some folks at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And the goal was to make programming accessible to kids. Programming is tricky, you know, it requires learning some really complex syntax, you know, the way that you actually would type to make the computer do what you want it to do. And for somebody that's just like getting into it, it can be really hard to understand programming, which already has concepts that are tricky enough when you also have to learn this language on top of it. So the solution was to make programming a little bit more like playing with Legos. You take the bricks of code and you compile them together so that they form little programs. And they have all of the logical operators that you would need when programming, kind of like, if this happens, then this happens. If I click, then this happens. So with these basic building blocks, you can build up to do really interesting things. There's competitions on the site where kids see who can make the best game. They can do animations. In a second, I'm going to show you a video where I took the Scratch mascot and with just 5 blocks of code, made the mascot meow. Hope everyone is having a fantastic 2021 CT Mentoring Summit, and then do some somersaults. And that's all on one click with 5 blocks of code. So if Andrew, would you cue up that video for me? So yeah, cheesy, a little bit charming, but honestly, what a great time that you could have with a mentee that is interested in STEM, kind of on a shared screen together, just going through these blocks and building something cool. All right, cool. Next slide. Khan Academy is a really great, robust resource. It has been used nationwide by learning professionals looking to give their students a little extra edge, a little extra help with their homework. As you can see in this little right-sided screenshot, they have every subject, K through 12, that you can really just click on and do interesting games, quizzes, videos that will help learn or develop in the subject area. This can be really great for if you have a mentee who's looking to polish up their performance in a specific subject. Or on the other hand, you have a mentee that's excelling and they want to learn about a new subject and kind of get their feet wet in a different field. Khan Academy is a great place to go. I also highlight here, they have a module on college admissions. There's so much that is available on Khan Academy, even for the older mentees. So you can do a deep dive into this sort of material. And finally, I want to highlight this little leaf bean of a critter in the corner there. When you sign up for Khan Academy, you get to pick like one of these little bean characters, right? And as you learn, your character grows. So mine started off as a little pebble, and after a bit of learning, it grew a little leaf on its head. And if I kept going into it and invested many hours, eventually I would have a full-fledged leaf triceratops, which as like an adult is pretty cool. And if I was a kid, that would be the coolest. So yeah, I definitely recommend Khan Academy. It's a great thing. And finally, we're going to be moving into the next bracket of our presentation here, which is the formal operations stage. So at this stage, your mentees may be a little younger, maybe a little older, but roughly 12 plus. And they are at a place where they can handle some more abstract reasoning. They are starting to chew on, and at this age, they really enjoy chewing on this type of stuff, like ethical issues, political issues, spiritual issues, getting involved. This is such a period of rapid growth. And also, which is useful for our presentation here, this is the age that they really start to understand and recognize the perspective of others. They are able to walk in somebody else's shoes and like do those things. So all the things on here, these shared digital experiences, fall in a category that I'm calling social nuance games. So these are games that require a degree of perspective taking. These are the games that I played with Evan as he kind of just skyrocketed in his ability to understand social cues and social nuances. The games prompt questions like, how do I pretend I'm this person in a convincing way? Or how do I get people to not know I'm the imposter? It's like delicate lying, telling funny jokes. All of these social games, which I'll highlight a few of in a brief moment, are great for this. So the first, if you have a pulse on what the young people are doing these days, you may have heard of Among Us. It is a free app for both Android and iPhones. And there is a couple of caveats though. One, when playing this game with a mentee, highly recommend both of you use the, go into settings and set the chat filter to basically be on. This will screen out any lewd language or curse words and make it so you have a more, wholesome experience. The other thing worth noting is there's a degree of comic violence displayed in Among Us. And I will have a slide that demonstrates exactly what I mean by comic violence. But before showing this to your mentee, it's one of those things that you kind of want to chew on and say, like, am I comfortable with this? And would they be comfortable with this? So in Among Us, setting the scene, you are a crewmate on a spaceship, or you're an imposter on a spaceship. But either way, you're one of these colorful little bean people. And if you are a crewmate, your goal on the spaceship is to go around and complete all of the tasks on the spaceship before time runs out. So you walk around and all the tasks are simple, like swipe a credit card, things like that. If you're the imposter, it is your role to go around and kill all of the crewmates. Your other big goal, you don't want to be discovered as the imposter, because if they discover you, they're going to kick you off the spaceship here, and then you lose. So it's a game of deceit, of social intrigue. It can be a lot of fun in those ways. Let's see. Yeah, so we'll go to the next slide where we'll highlight just briefly what I mean by comic violence. So here are 3 pictures of the kill scenes. You got Vikings stabbing each other, head snapping, tongue in the face type things. Is it as gory as kid games get? Certainly not. But for some mentees, this may be unpleasant. I want to highlight one more thing regarding the actual gameplay that I failed to mention. If you're a crewmate and you come along one of these dead bodies, you have an option. You can report it. And if you do report it, there is an emergency meeting. Everybody gathers in the emergency meeting, which operates as like a little chat room. And then kind of the intrigue begins. Everybody starts pointing fingers at each other. It's like, honestly, I think Green is the imposter. Green's the one that did it. And Green might say, no way, I saw White kill someone. It's not me. And this is where the social nuance comes in and the ability to take perspectives and all that good stuff. It's a really fun and fertile building ground for these types of social skills. And if you're interested, I'd like to show a little bit about how this is actually set up. So after you've downloaded it, and presumably you are on like a voice call with your mentee, perhaps some of their friends or a group of mentees while doing this. So you go into settings, you make sure the center chat is on, and then you click for online. Once you're online, the first thing you do is you click under host, create game. And here you can choose which map you want to play on, how many imposters are going to be in the game. I find 2 imposters is kind of the sweet spot for a fun game, and how many players you can like to have in the room. This can range anywhere between 7 and 10 players, but no less than that. So it is a group game. Once you've done all those things, you'll be brought into this little spaceship loading dock type thing where there's a code at the bottom of the screen, which you can then share with the other people, maybe in like a Zoom chat, and they can enter the code in the spot where it says private to enter this private room that you've created to play Among Us. And yeah, that is the setup for Among Us. The next game I would like to highlight is Fibbage, specifically Fibbage 3. This is one of those games that does come at a cost, specifically to most likely the mentor who will be hosting this. So after they've downloaded Steam, they can go to Jackbox Party Pack number 4, pay $25, and then have the ability to play a few of the games that are in the party pack. But the game that I'm featuring for this is Fibbage. Before you actually dive into Fibbage, again, the caveat would be you'd want to set it up so that family-friendly mode is on. Otherwise, you may have suggestions that are, not as family-friendly. So if you want to avoid those kind of mature prompts, you would set up family-friendly mode. In this video, we highlight, a quick game of Fibbage that, we played as a team here. And it's kind of a cut so that it's quick. Some of the loading screens are shrunk down, but the goal here is kind of to get a pulse on it. And, just broadly speaking, Fibbage is a game where you are given a prompt on your device. So say like, what's your favorite color? And I would say blue. Then it goes to a round where you have to pretend you are another person and give an answer that other people will think is more true than the actual truth. And as to not confuse that any deeper, let's go into the video and sort of get a feel for what this looks like.
I like this because it's like fun for people that you already know, and then it's also a great icebreaker.
As you see here, you play from your phone as the controller.
All right, we're all in, right? This is all of us? Cool. Here we go.
So you get points for fooling people, finding out the actual truth, or if people just think you're funny, they can give you a reputation bonus. So these are how you accumulate points to win. Here it's asking me to answer the prompt on my device. My prompt was a movie that everyone hates, but I love.
Oh, wow.
So,
all right, so now we have to lie about Aristide.
Yeah.
In a convincing way.
Yes.
So what was Aristide's first album he bought? I said Animal Sounds by the Beach Boys. I don't know. Other people said other things.
Can you hear him? Oh, man.
Nice.
I was like, that's such a specific poll. It cannot be the truth.
Oh, that was kind of cool.
Nicely done, Deb.
None of us got it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So gameplay continues until all the players have had a chance to tell convincing lies. In the second round, it's kind of like two truths and a lie, but you tell one truth and one lie.
Wow, that's a bold move in like a first date capacity.
It was.
I worked at Godiva when we met part-time, so I brought along strawberries.
You can learn cool things about people too.
Oh, Deb coming in with the win.
Nice.
Nicely done.
Nice.
So that is kind of Fibbage in a
I like
nutshell.
this.
And we have one more game we'd like to share with you. And Josh, would you mind taking this one? You're the one that introduced us to it.
I would love to. Thank you, Nathan. So I'm going to be talking about a little game that I adapted from a YouTube video that I initially saw. It is a physical game you can buy. So I think if you go on Amazon and look for it and you want to play it like at a party on your own, you can. But for our purposes, I adapted it to be more accessible to Zoom. So I really like it because it is one of those hidden role games like Nathan said. So there is that nuance to it. Effectively, you use Zoom, the whiteboard feature in Zoom, which I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with. But if not, you can play around with Zoom later on and figure that kind of thing out. Nathan, I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember how detailed the video gets, so I don't want to explain too much and have it repeat. But forgive me if I do end up repeating myself in the video. But you are able to, thank you, Andrew. You screen share with the Zoom whiteboard. Everybody picks one color just to make your lives easier. You don't want any repeats, so you're not confused. And then you use the annotate feature to write out your name so everybody just knows who has which color. And then you will have one person be the game master. So for our purposes, I was the game master to make things a little bit easier. And we'll pick a category and then a word from that category. And then the games master will message it to everybody in the room but one person. So they know what they're drawing, and then the last person will get the word fake. They will not know what we're actually drawing. And so the premise is to make sure that you don't get found out as the fake, but you also don't want to give too much away if you are an actual artist. So if we want to move on there. So the way that we ended up playing it, what worked best, it can depend on how many people you have. Each person can get 1 to 2 rounds of where they are able to draw one line in the game, one continuous line, and I'll explain that. You don't want to give too much away, like I said, but you want everybody to know that, or you want to convince everybody that you are the artist. You don't want to be found out as the fake. Apologies for my cat screaming. So the fake tries their best to blend in, and then at the end of the round, you try to guess who the fake is based off of their contributions to the art piece on the board there. Next slide, please. And I think we can go ahead and play this. Okay, so our category is animal. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to message all of you but one person what animal. So give me 1 second to do all that, and then once everybody has their word, I will let you know that it's time for us to go. Okay, so Kim just went, so it is now Nathan's turn. Wow.
I don't know. I feel like that vaguely ruined my stellar start.
Okay. All right. So it's my turn now.
Quite the convincingly straight line you got there, Kelly.
Well, it was on the straight line. I don't know. It was not my intention when I tried to make it not straight. It was problematic.
And
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
I like it. I like it. Beautiful. I want you all to spend, let's say, about a minute discussing who you think is the fake based off of their contributions. So let's say that's now.
I think Kelly's the fake.
Yeah, I think Kelly's the fake too.
Yeah, Sam. That straight line could have been anything.
Yeah.
Told you I didn't understand that I could choose a squiggle versus a straight line. It was a technical error.
Technical difficulties.
It was. I think I'm an artist,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
So now I would like the fake to come forward. And before she had said it, what did you think that the word was?
Well, as the fake, I
Fun.
think it's a lizard.
But
It was everybody did a pretty good job drawing. By the time it got to me, I was like, oh wow, this is a lizard. I just got to put the eye on it. We're done here.
I unmuted myself to finish up that really quickly. Sorry. I realized I didn't explain how you win. So if the artist figures out, or if the artists figure out who the fake is, the artists win. But if they get who the fake is wrong, then the fake has a chance to guess what the word is, like Andrew did. And so he figured out the word. It was lizard. So therefore he won this game.
For the record, I had it easy. By the time it got to me, it was already almost done. I was just sort of later in the queue, and Kelly kind of set herself up with that accidental straight line. But thank you to Josh and Nathan for setting us up with some great games and some great learning. Does anybody have any questions and comments? Anything for Josh and Nathan? We'd also like to know what all of you have been using as virtual platforms, games, learning sites, things that you found helpful with your mentors and mentees.
To Kelly's note, I like to, I'm the technical communication specialist, but I'm also the unofficial bringer of fun activities. I try to add a little spice to the partnership's day-to-day stuff. One way to have a fun experience with a mentee or coworkers is to cultivate like a fun little Zoom background before you're, meeting together. So for birthdays and stuff like that for the team, when time permits, I like to go a little all out and like create little animals and birthday hats and stuff like that so people can wear those as their Zoom background. That can be a really fun way to engage with your mentee in a virtual capacity as well.
Oh no, the first example of Nathan doing the birthday hat thing was on my birthday, and then he took a screenshot of my reaction, which hopefully we don't still have a picture of. But anyway, just for the sake of that, oh, Kelly has updated her background, so I'm going to go ahead and spotlight her, so we can all see a little example of some of the socially distanced fun that you can have.
I love this. It is so good.
Kelly, was that when Tiger King was a big thing? Is that why you picked the tiger?
I think it was like my spirit animal. Yeah. So we all got to choose our own animal. My favorite though is Susan Sarmiento's condor. That one was really unexpected. And a condor and a little birthday hat is really where it's at.
That's true. There's nothing cuter than a condor wearing a little hat. And we do often refer to you as the Joe Exotic of the partnership. So it all does kind of come full circle. So with that in mind, it's getting on in the afternoon. I want to be mindful of everybody's time. And we want to remind you to connect with us to stay up to date with everything we're doing. Of course, there's our website, preventionworksct.org. Follow us on Twitter at Prevention News, like us on Instagram at Prevention Work CT, and follow us on Facebook at GPPCT. We should mention that this webinar is just for educational purposes. This is what works for us. It might not work for you. When in doubt, always check with legal counsel. Thank you so much for joining us here today. This concludes day one of our Connecticut Mentoring Summit, but there is a lot more ahead in day two. Here's a look at what's coming up. Our morning plenary features Dr. Jean Rhodes, who you heard something about in the MentorHub presentation, and Dr. Tori Weston, Surden. They're leading a conversation about the opportunities and challenges in advancing social equity for youth mentoring. We're going to kick that off at 9 o'clock. It's a bit of a shorter day, so our workshop sessions begin in the late morning rather than the afternoon. They start at 11:45 and they run through 1. You can get the exact times from our day 2 website or on the PDF agenda that was sent out with your summit registration. And our summit will conclude with closing remarks and some thank yous from our co-presidents, Roland Harmon and Kelly Juleson-Scapino. They'll be sort of recapping all the things that we've gone over, taking some things away from the presentations, looking forward to the future of mentoring. And we've also got some videos that we put together about the value that mentoring brings to mentors and mentees alike. So that'll do it for us here. Thanks again for coming, and we can't wait to see you all tomorrow.